It is almost like a painting or a sculpture, some natural wonder in my home that I look at almost more than anything else in this house. This is directly in front of my chair in my office, aka fish room. And in that respect, while it is not my only aquarium, it is my signature aquarium. The other ones are to my right and to my left. And while they're no less beautiful, this one in a contest, if you will, would probably win. It is my highest tech system. When I moved back to Chicago, I splurged, and after doing a ton of research, I decided, well, for at least this tank, I'm gonna get the best stuff I can afford, and I was blessed to be able to afford the best stuff. This is an ADA Cube aquarium. It's their 21.5 gallon system, so it's the high version of a 20, providing extra gallons, extra gallon and a half, I think. Might be 22.5, I forget. But that extra height is pretty sweet. It gives it a lot more gravitas. That's a twin star light. I forget the model number. It's hanging from a hanging kit that took me forever to assemble. Those things, I mean, probably it was me and it was my first one, but damn, it was kind of tricky. But there it is, and it's been up for about 8 months. I'm moving closer now. Hopefully the light won't. How about that, huh? Just perfect in my eyes. You've got the rasboras there to the right, my so-called Charlie's Angels, the 3 angelfish, very different color morphs. They always hang out together. Happy, peaceful, coexisting with all these smaller fish. The rasboras and ember tetras, just like Art Deco diamonds floating in crystal clear air in the water here, which is so clean due to this incredible plant growth. You can see the bubbles from the CO2. That's Sturgeon repens. Oh my God, it's so robust, it's almost like a rotala, but it's Sturgeon repens, often used as a ground cover. And there it is, a little bit more in keeping with what it usually looks like in people's aquariums. This is Blixa japonica, sort of the aloe looking plant. Spiky, sends out, not runners per se, but new plants just sort of form all around it until it just breaks away and you can pull them apart and replant them, or these will grow into big bushes, and sometimes they just literally float up because the root structure is like a diamond shape, like a spade. It doesn't really spread out tendrils the way other plants do, so it can float up if too top heavy. Rotala indica in the back there, Hygrophila pinifida there, my so-called Game of Thrones driftwood. I called it that because it looked like a throne shape. It still does, but now it's working in concert with this incredible plant material, and so it's not as bodacious as it was during the hardscaping phase. There is the Pogostem and octopus, one of my new favorite plants, just floating ethereally, if that's a correct use of the word. What's the stem plant here that gets the red and the yellow? when I started making this video, it was on the tip of my tongue, and I'm sorry I don't have it for you. None of these plants are particularly difficult. In fact, many of them are relatively easy. CO2 and a good light make it even easier. There you can see the honey gourami in the back, a fish that does not mind being by itself in terms of its own kind, whereas angelfish like to be with others. And obviously the schooling fish like the raspberry, you would never keep those fish as an individual. I've never seen that happen. Occasionally people keep angelfish as individuals, certainly breeding pairs, but that doesn't count. That's after they've found their mate and they're singled out, and it's a different enterprise altogether. Angelfish are happy with others of their kind, even if sometimes aggression develops. I would never keep that fish as an individual except under very special circumstances. Got a bunch of panda coreodoras. While I was talking, I think a number of them shimmied this way and that. And of course, now as I look for them, I can't find them. Christmas moss here, forming wonderful like layered beds in between the other plants. The ubiquitous ram's horn snails are in here. Otocinclus, amano shrimp. I did have some filamentous algae lately, and I've actually seen the angelfish pulling at it. They will eat green that way. They will eat, sometimes I've heard duckweed even, and I don't have a conspicuous duckweed problem. I have that plant in here, but it doesn't seem to overtake the tank. There's an Otocinclus hitting the glass there, and there's a friend of his. They like to be in groups too, and then I see the tail of a panda core. There he is. They can change their iconic white and black depending on your substrate. These have gotten a little bit calico in that they're not as vividly contrasting, my pandas. That can happen as they age and become into breeding size. When they're young, they're really white with the 2 black stripes, and that doesn't necessarily last. The red plant to the right is the AR plant. I'll butcher the saying, alternetheki, yeah, you know what I'm saying. I call it the AR plant, so do a lot of other people. I put a few plantlets of my jungle veil in the back there in the center, and now you can see it lovely sort of wrapping all around the tank. I love that effect. Let's climb up. I've got some pothos here. I'll probably have to do a trim, right? It's all in this little container, sort of a print-on-demand plastic variegated box that you can sink into the tank. The light has created some death on these leaves, but nothing that the plant can't overcome. I suppose, having pointed it out and looking at it closely with you, I could do some trimming there. It almost looks like, yeah, that's like some sort of like powder, like salt, but I don't use salt in this tank, so it could be when the bubbler at night takes over for the CO2, all that bubbly water there has minerals and things in it, and over time it created this. I'm going to clean that off with a mister. But pothos, 2 different kinds there, obviously are liking it here. Look at that the new leaves you see growing there, and eventually the weight of it could become a problem, and I'll just have to do a trim or a cut. I just sat back down in my chair that has me looking at this tank every time I look up from the computer, which is often when you have all these lovely fish tanks in your room, in your fish room. This is what I see, and I just wanted to share that with you. Sorry for talking slow. I wanted to choose my words and not sound all aggressive with such a serene image. I just didn't want to be shouting and screaming and yelling. You could always speed up my videos to 1.25. Maybe I sound better a little bit faster. I won't be offended. If you have any comments or questions, by all means hit me up. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, keep your hands in the tank. Ciao for now.